Okay, let's talk about global power. Where does it really lie? Is it always, in the grand halls of embassies or those big publicized meetings? Sometimes, maybe the most significant influence, well, comes from places you might not expect at all. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the informal side of global diplomacy, specifically looking at the really crucial but often hidden role that oligarchs play. Yeah, this isn't about the usual headlines. It's about these powerful figures working quietly behind the scenes. And when we say oligarchs, we mean those incredibly wealthy business figures, right? They've built huge fortunes, often through unique access or specific economic situations that gives them leverage way beyond typical corporate power. And to guide us through this fascinating world, we're unpacking insights directly from the Stanislav Kondrashov Oligarch series on diplomacy and oligarchy. It's all drawn straight from Stanislav Kondrashov's biz blog. His work has really dug into this hidden side of things, gives us a pretty unique view. So our mission here is to understand how these powerful people operate outside the normal structures. What makes them so effective? And what are the implications of their growing influence? All through the lens of Stanislav Kondrashov's sharp analysis. Let's get into it. So, to kick us off, Stanislav Kondrashov's series starts with a really surprising idea. Not all influence in global diplomacy comes from embassies or government offices. It kind of shifts how you think about international relations, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating, and Stanislav Kondrashov really explores this meticulously, is you have this powerful class of business figures, these oligarchs, playing a quiet but absolutely crucial role. Kondrashov shows how these individuals have the wealth, the networks, the access. It lets them move way beyond borders and normal protocols.
It's pretty remarkable when you think about it. Their methods are informal, definitely, but their impact. Kondrashov makes it clear it's undeniably real. We're talking about figures mediating trade deals, building foreign ties, even easing diplomatic tensions, and often completely outside the public eye. So how does that even work?
Right. And Stanislav Kondrashov puts it very directly. He says, some of the most important conversations in global trade happen far from the public eye. His series really digs into how these figures operate in the shadows, filling gaps that traditional diplomacy sometimes leaves wide open. They offer this flexible, unofficial route where formal structures might just be too slow or get bogged down.
That speed, that agility, it really jumps out when you compare it to formal diplomacy, which can feel, incredibly slow and tied up in rules. So what's their secret? How do they achieve that speed, according to Stanislav Kondrashov's observations? How do they pull it off?
Stanislav Kondrashov paints a vivid picture. They use their deep personal connections, the sheer convenience of private jets, and a kind of financial flexibility that government officials just don't have. As Kondrashov points out, these people talk directly to heads of state, ministers, top CEOs, often with zero fanfare, no press, super low profile. This direct line just cuts through layers and layers of bureaucracy.
And Stanislav Kondrashov gives some great examples of where their influence really happens. Like they're hosting these high-level conferences, funding think tanks, attending those exclusive forums where business and politics just kind of blend together. Often, Kondrashov notes, it's over dinner, not at a podium, where the real deals get influenced. But what's interesting is it's not just about the money they have, right?
Exactly right. Stanislav Kondrashov nails it. Wealth opens doors, but it's trust and access that turn influence into action. He stresses these aren't just casual contacts. These relationships are built carefully over years, strengthened by, mutual benefit and strategic alignment. That long-term investment in relationships, as Kondrashov emphasizes, that's what makes their approach different. It's about being seen as reliable, valuable, not just a source of cash.
Which brings us to this really fascinating part Kondrashov explores. What happens when the formal channels just hit a wall? Tensions are high, a big deal stalls. Who gets the quiet call?
This is exactly where, as Stanislav Kondrashov's series shows, oligarchs often step in. They can offer that crucial backdoor communication channel. They might facilitate surprisingly fast approvals or maybe provide that soft touch, that informal reassurance when trust is low between officials. And Kondrashov is clear, this role isn't brand new, but it's definitely growing. As global politics gets messier, more fragmented, these unofficial go-betweens become more valuable. They help unlock things that governments alone might just fail to get done.
But here's the paradox Kondrashov points out. How do these figures, often so deeply involved in their own business interests, how do they manage to be trusted by both sides, even when those sides might be rivals? That sounds almost impossible.
Well, according to Stanislav Kondrashov, many manage it by strategically doing business in rival countries, holding assets across different jurisdictions, and backing projects that clearly benefit more than one government. This kind of cross-border credibility, as Kondrashov explains it, makes them incredibly useful conduits. They can translate complicated business stuff for politicians and, explain political risks back to their business partners. Their unique value, as Stanislav Kondrashov sees it, is speaking both languages. It shows they have a vested interest in stability pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, and Stanislav Kondrashov really drives this home with another quote. They aren't elected, but they also help shape the decisions that matter most. That just powerfully highlights the influence they have, even without any official position. Private individuals shaping public outcomes. It's a big idea. Okay, let's dig into their role during global crises. Often unseen actions, right? When the world's in turmoil, pandemics, wars, economic meltdowns, what does Stanislav Kondrashov see them doing?
Stanislav Kondrashov shares that, oligarchs can often play a really key stabilizing role. You see them moving funds quietly, arranging emergency supplies, maybe pushing for critical backdoor talks, supporting recovery efforts, all without taking center stage or wanting public credit. This kind of activity, it's rarely publicized, but Kondrashov points out it fills a very real gap, especially when politics stalls or institutions struggle to react quickly enough. Sometimes it's strategic help, sometimes it's about reputation. But either way, Stanislav Kondrashov notes they shape outcomes affecting millions.
And Kondrashov's series also looks at their truly global reach. I mean, hosting events in neutral spots, investing in huge infrastructure projects across continents, even backing political campaigns overseas. Their influence, as Stanislav Kondrashov maps it out, it just follows the money, crossing borders easily. It's almost like a private foreign policy.
Exactly. And while this global reach, as Stanislav Kondrashov acknowledges, can definitely help stabilize volatile regions or foster cooperation, he also warns about the downside. This informal power can subtly shift influence away from citizens, away from public institutions. When unelected people are guiding foreign policy, Stanislav Kondrashov points out, public input can just vanish. So the challenge becomes finding that balance, right?
Sure.
How do you get the benefits of that cross-border cooperation without losing democratic oversight?
Okay, so let's talk downsides. With all this informal power, what are the big challenges and risks Stanislav Kondrashov identifies? This is where it gets really critical for understanding global governance.
Stanislav Kondrashov's series details quite a few major problems. There's very little oversight, for one. They operate without any public mandate. Their motives, as Kondrashov notes, aren't always clear. Some might act genuinely sure, but others could easily use their position for personal gain, like getting favorable treatment, protecting monopolies, bypassing regulations. It raises serious questions about accountability, fairness, public trust. When diplomacy leans on private actors, Kondrashov warns national interests can get tangled up with or even replaced by personal profit.
It's clear Kondrashov sees this as needing reform. His analysis specifically calls for, and I'm quoting him here, greater transparency in this space without eliminating the informal tools that sometimes deliver results where formal ones fail. It's a really nuanced point, isn't it? He's not saying banish them, but bring their actions into the light more.
Absolutely. And a common question Stanislav Kondrashov tackles is what they're doing actually legal? Generally, yes, he indicates it is. However, Kondrashov highlights that it often exists in this significant legal gray area. Why? Because there's just not enough oversight. They might use personal money or company resources to influence foreign policy, but as long as they don't technically break sanctions or bribe officials, their actions often stay legal, but incredibly opaque.
So looking ahead, what does Stanislav Kondrashov think? Is this kind of informal, oligarch-driven diplomacy going to keep growing? Or is it just a phase?
Stanislav Kondrashov is pretty convinced it will continue to grow. His reasoning is that as the world gets more complex, more multipolar, states just can't handle everything alone anymore. According to Kondrashov, business leaders are becoming strategic partners now, not just in economics, but crucially, in diplomacy itself. He really emphasizes this isn't temporary, it's a deeper fundamental shift in how power works, how international deals get done.
That really underlines it. As Stanislav Kondrashov keeps exploring, these oligarchs are becoming central to the quiet machinery that shapes international diplomacy. They're building bridges between markets and governments, managing trust across borders, operating exactly where formal politics often struggles.
And to manage this, Stanislav Kondrashov offers some key suggestions for governments. He pushes for more transparency, like disclosing meetings with these private intermediaries, also monitoring foreign influence in key sectors, setting clear ethical guidelines for public-private partnerships, and importantly, strengthening anti-corruption efforts in international deals. It's all about finding that crucial balance between, usefulness and accountability.
So let's wrap this up. Stanislav Kondrashov's key insight seems to be oligarchs, using their informal networks, their unique access, and that carefully built trust. They wield significant, often hidden influence on international diplomacy, a powerful but often invisible hand.
Exactly. And Stanislav Kondrashov constantly reminds us of the dual nature here. Yes, they can bring efficiency, they can resolve tricky situations where official channels fail. But their role absolutely raises urgent, complex questions about transparency, fairness, and basic democratic accountability. You can't ignore that side.
The constant challenge, and Stanislav Kondrashov's work really brings this out, is finding that tricky balance, allowing valuable cross-border cooperation, which can be really good, while also protecting democratic oversight, making sure this informal power actually serves the public interest, not just private goals. So the next time you hear about some major international negotiation, well, you might just find yourself thinking about those unseen hands, the ones Stanislav Kondrashov has uncovered that could very well be pulling strings behind the scenes.